Welcome to today's Charity Village webinar. We will just wait a moment for everyone to join the session. Okay, we will get started. Welcome to today's Charity Village webinar. My name is Mercedes Mara, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Specialist with Charity Village. As we are gathering here on a virtual platform, it is important to acknowledge that each of us is joining this webinar from the ancestral or unceded lands of the Inuit, Métis, and First Nation people. As a settler on this land, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm speaking to you from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Anishinaabe, which includes the Ojibwe of Fort William First Nation. For those who may be joining a Charity Village webinar for the first time, Charity Village is Canada's largest online job board for the nonprofit sector. In addition to our online job board, organizations can also post volunteer positions. So if you're looking for work or to recruit talent in the sector, Charity Village is the place to start. We also have a ton of excellent resources for nonprofit professionals, including online courses, articles, fundraising tools, and free webinars like the one we are presenting today. Before we start today's webinar, I would like to quickly run through some housekeeping items. You may have noticed when you joined the webinar today that you were automatically put on mute. Since we have hundreds of participants in today's session, it is important for us to minimize the amount of background noise so everyone can clearly hear the presentation. But you can still ask questions and make comments using the question box at the bottom of the Zoom control panel. Look for that at the bottom of your screen. We will be taking questions at the end of the webinar, so please submit your questions as you think of them, and we will do our best to get to as many as possible. You can also email your questions to webinars@charityvillage.com. If you happen to encounter any technical issues with the webinar, whether reviewing the presentation or with the audio, please let us know in the question box or by sending us an email. We will do our best to get any technical difficulties resolved as quickly as possible, but in a worst case scenario, please remember that we are recording today's webinar and you will receive the full recording by email tomorrow. So if you get called away or disconnected, you will still be able to view the full presentation. And with that, I'd like to welcome our webinar presenters, John Mark Vanderpool from Social Impact Solutions and Rebecca Alfred from Trellis.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar. I know Rebecca and I are extremely excited to get to share some insights with you guys. Insights I know everyone's really concerned about the economic environment, what's going on, what may or may not take place. And so we spent a lot of time building this presentation to really just give you the best secrets that we have so you can have a very secure future for your nonprofit. So I'm excited to pass things off to Rebecca. We're going to go back and forth a little bit. And Rebecca, if you want to go ahead and take it from here.
Now, before we get started, we wanted to share with all of you a quick story about an organization that used storytelling and an annual campaign to grow their brand and acquire some new longtime donors. So the Firefighters Burn Fund Bright Nights 50/50 raffle, raffles are usually a great way to get a great revenue spike and also try and promote your high-level brand out there. However, we rarely see raffles get any long-term value in terms of new relations, especially through donations. However, when Bright Nights came forward, they decided that they needed to do something different. They really wanted to focus on storytelling and a simple donor retention strategy, and with the end goal of trying to secure more and more donors for their organization. And what did? They did 20%, $30,000, and 1,000 new donors. So let's start breaking down what exactly they did and how you can hopefully do the same thing. So first, they started with storytelling. Bright Nights does a 50/50 every single Christmas, but what they do differently is they really focused on putting their cause first, putting their firefighters and stories up front through images. Most 50/50s are purely about a chance to win, but theirs was different. It was all about telling a story and sharing the impact that individuals can have. Next, their donor retention strategy. They don't look at a 50/50 as just a chance to get some one-time revenue. They look at it as a strategy to identify new long-term donors by adding a donation upsell at checkout. 1,000 of their ticket purchasers donated on top. That is 1,000 new donors that they didn't have before this raffle. Now, they can spend their limited time following up on those 1,000 donors, not attempting to reach out to all of their ticket purchasers, but just those ones who have shown interest and intent to make an additional contribution for the organization. And finally, technology. This is all possible with the right technology to allow you to do donation upsells and also make it really easy and quick. Now, in the next hour, we're going to walk you through exactly what Burn Fund did with their raffle and share how you can tell better stories, raise more with your fundraisers right away, and nurture your most engaged donors to become lifelong supporters of your cause. Get ready because it will be an action-packed next hour, but hopefully we're going to leave you all with some tactical next steps that you can implement into your organization right away. And to help you get the most out of this session possible, we've also put together a free quiz. And you can scan the QR code on the screen there or go to the link at the top, which you can complete. Once you complete the quiz, you'll get more insight into your fundraising strategy, how you're currently doing with a fundraising score, and also some tactical ideas that you can try to improve the way that you approach donor acquisition and strategies to help you raise more.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rebecca. We have a lot to go over. Like Rebecca said, we spent a lot of time on this. Our two companies came together. How could we provide the most value in an hour? And we've decided to put together a pretty straightforward agenda, but please screen share as much as humanly possible. Take notes, screen share. This is going to be a pretty dense presentation, but very, very tactical, very actionable. You're going to be able to just take this and immediately make a substantial difference in your fundraising as you go through 2023. So we're going to start off by talking about storytelling and how to really craft stories that inspire and retain. I want to really hit that retention word really hard here, your most valuable donors. Then we're going to go into why every nonprofit, or really how every nonprofit could nurture and really call their donors to action. And then I'm going to finish up with talking about the secret ingredient to lasting donor relationships. But Rebecca, do you want to talk about what you're going to be going through?
Yeah. So, and then I'm going to take it over there and we're going to talk about how charities are raising more right now through what we're calling a strategic donation upsell. We'll talk all about what that is and actually how you can quickly implement those ideas into your fundraising strategies right now, if that's a current fundraiser you're running or one that you're planning in the future. And then how you can use technology to tie it all together and hopefully make your lives easier at the same time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go ahead and kick it off without any further ado. So here's something that's really, really interesting. We're seeing lots of nonprofits that are concerned about 2023, unsure of what the rest of the year is going to look like from an economic standpoint. And many of them are worried about where is the needed funding going to come for their programs and services, not just to sustain what they have, but in order to grow. And what we're seeing being more the causal side of this is outside of the economic turbulence, is there are two main things that we're seeing. Failing to communicate the right story to the right donors. We're going to break that down in just a moment, but also what it looks like to properly nurture your donor relationships. Let's go ahead and dive in and see exactly what that looks like. So I'm sure you guys hear storytelling with nonprofits, maybe not as often as I do, but maybe enough. Let's just go ahead and talk about why storytelling is actually so effective. And I might burst a few myths as to what effective nonprofit storytelling is. But in order to really understand why this is so important, that storytelling really is the effective hallmark of successful nonprofits. It really is the way in which all humans, but absolutely your donors and stakeholders, look through the world. It's the lens in which they look through the world. And it's our job as nonprofit leaders and marketers and development officers to tell the right story that will resonate with our ideal donors. And I want you to think about storytelling through three unique lenses here. We want to be sure that we're telling stories that inspire, unite, and galvanize, right? So from an inspiration standpoint, we want to attract your ideal donors, to inspire them to take action on behalf of your cause. Your ideal donors need to see themselves in the story your nonprofit is telling. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a few moments. But then your story also needs to unite people around this cause. And this includes everybody. This includes your donors, obviously, your board members, all stakeholders, volunteers. Everyone together needs to be united around that cause. And storytelling really is probably the most effective way to unite disparate people around a common cause. But then finally, with galvanizing, life is tough. Running a nonprofit is even more challenging than running a business. I've been a part of plenty of both, and I understand and absolutely believe that running a nonprofit is significantly more challenging than running a business. In order to be able to galvanize your team to stay true to the cause, we need to tell meaningful stories of impact that really do galvanize the team, help us understand the future that we're trying to create, and then see things through. Give us the energy, the inspiration that we need to push everything through. So let's break it down, how to craft an effective nonprofit story. First things first, you have to understand your audience, right? You are not telling a story for everybody. You are telling a story. Effective stories work for your ideal donor types. We're going to break that down more in just a few minutes. But we need to understand the audience, but more importantly, what motivates them to give to your organization? What are the key drivers that really inspire them to give to your organization? And then how can we tell that story so we can attract more of those kinds of people? Next thing that we need to do is we need to create clear and concise messaging. The fewer words, the better. That surprises people a lot of times that we do not want to use too many words. The reason is confusion is the enemy of your success here. We want to be clear, pithy. We don't want to be cute. We don't want to make people burn more calories than they have to understand the cause that you have dedicated your professional lives to. Make it easy to understand. The next thing might be a little bit controversial, but let me just go ahead and lay it out there. You need to demonstrate what your organization stands for, but also what you stand against. And that might not sound great, but let me put this in slightly different terms. If you're an organization that, let's say it is a food distribution or nutrition program, that means you stand for that everyone deserves to have equal access to high quality, nutritious food. We work with a lot of organizations around the world that do a lot of food distribution. Well, at the same time, well, as great as that is, it's really important to make it clear that you stand against malnutrition and unfair systems. We need to make it so clear that people understand, yeah, I'm not just giving great nutritious food to people in need. I'm standing against malnutrition. I'm aiming to end malnutrition in this generation. That is so much more of a cause that people can get rallied around to take things to the next level when it comes to fundraising, when it comes to improving your operations, and absolutely when it comes to galvanizing a team around a common cause. It's really important. This fourth one I think is my favorite, just because of personality, but we really get to talk about effective storytelling with casting a vision for the future your organization aims to create. Think about that. When I said end malnutrition, I am saying something very clear. The future that we're trying to create, there are no children that go without high quality, nutritious food. No more children dying from malnutrition. I mean, this is huge. We're talking about ending starvation, but we're also talking about ending so many of the common maladies and sicknesses and diseases that come with malnutrition. We want to end that. We are for these good things. We are against these bad things. We are going to end this in our generation. That is how you really galvanize and unite and inspire people through that kind of storytelling. And finally, and I alluded to this earlier, we need to tell stories in a way that our donors can see themselves as a part of the story. So when we call them to action, they know exactly what they need to do. And we're going to break that down a little bit more. But before we do, I want to give you just a quick hot take here. Do not overcomplicate this. Stories are built on 3 core principles. You have a problem, you have a plan, you have a solution. Now notice I didn't say problems. This is singular. Every good nonprofit story has a problem. The issue is for nonprofits is you deal with and you address thousands of problems. But in order to craft clear and compelling stories, we can only talk about one problem at a time. So think about the problems, the myriad of problems your organization solves. Really try and bring it into one singular problem that you stand to overcome. And that's the problem that you want to run with. There's a million ways you can make this more sophisticated, but at the end of the day, you need to make it clear. Now, the plan is the plan that your organization has that will help people overcome this problem, whether it's a cause or whether it's for human services, doesn't matter. You must provide a plan that makes it clear how you're going to solve this problem. And then the solution really is that vision of the future you're trying to create. So we've got this problem, our nonprofit solves this problem through this plan, and this is the future we're trying to create. That is these are the basic tenets of great nonprofit storytelling. Great examples of this, obviously UNICEF, they do this wonderfully, they're fantastic. Charity Water honestly wrote a book on it. And then World Housing is a fabulous organization that is really leveraging storytelling in very effective ways. I strongly recommend you just go to the landing pages, their websites, check this out, and you'll see all of these elements very clearly laid out on those websites. And the next thing is we want to talk about nurturing donors and calling them to action. And a couple of myths that we want to burst here. Number one, your donors want you to nurture them. I promise you. The idea is, oh, I'm worried about donor fatigue. I'm going to burst that myth for you. Donor fatigue is when we email people or we message people too often the wrong way. That's what produces donor fatigue. But I'm going to show you how you can still contact people probably many times more than you already are and never worry about donor fatigue because of how you're talking to them. I want you to think about this as relationship building, not always asking people for donations, because this is what we see again and again. Either nonprofits are not contacting their donors, so they say thank you for your money and then you never hear from them again, or the only time they contact is when they want or they need more money. You don't want to fall into either one of these categories. You want to do something very different. I'm going to give you the steps on how to nurture effectively. Now remember, put yourself in your donor's shoes. Think about what their experience is like dealing with you. You want to be personalized and you want to do this the right way. So step one, personalization and segmentation. Every single client that we take through the process, we start with an ideal donor profile. That's because you cannot effectively market to everyone. You have niches within your donor base. You probably have niches that are bringing the lion's share of your nonprofit's revenue. Our recommendation is you double down on them and you continue to grow the way that you know is most effective. So start with an ideal donor profile. The next thing that we do when we take our clients through this process is we start consistent and relevant communication. Email is the most effective way to generate and create meaningful relationships with your donors, other than in-person meetings. I mean, obviously, in-person meetings is the number one way, but in order to follow up and to do it at scale, email is the most effective way to do that. And with step three, engaging donors through multiple channels, I also want to burst another quick myth here is that there's this idea that nonprofits of all sizes, so whether you're a young nonprofit, new nonprofit, or huge, you need to be omni-channel. You need to be on every single platform. What I want you to know is that not all platforms are created equally for fundraising. And the reason I want to, the idea that I really want to communicate here is email is the only relationship that you own with your donors. You don't own the relationship with Facebook, right? So I would say email or SMS, like if you have their phone number. Those are the only two relationships that your nonprofit owns because they gave you their email address, meaning you can contact them directly whenever you want to. With Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of that, you're just renting those platforms. You are putting content out there and hoping that ideal donors will see it and that it will be meaningful to them. You have no control over that. You have 100% control and agency over your email. So we always, always, always push people to email. It's also where the vast majority of online fundraising comes from. It's the best means to do that. So also think about this underneath number three is determining your most reliable growth channels. There are a myriad of channels that are out there, but there are probably fewer than three that are reliable for your nonprofit. You want to really build out one super reliable growth channel. That means where new donors are coming from and make a steady stream, super committed to that one growth channel before you start putting attention elsewhere. Make it easy, make it clear, be very disciplined with one channel before you start to go into multiple channels after that. And then finally, this is the way, this number 4 right here. If you're worried about donor fatigue, follow the 80-20, right? Follow the Pareto principle when it comes to this. 80% of your emails should be all about telling stories of success. It should be telling all the great things that your nonprofit is doing because of your donors' generosity. Right? No one unsubscribes from a nonprofit that is sending their donors emails, the donors email that say, thank you so much for the gift you gave. Because of you, we are able to do X, Y, and Z, and we are creating a better world because of your generosity. People don't unsubscribe from that. We have many clients in this space. We send a lot of emails every single week. We do not see huge unsubscribes. We've actually seen open rates and click-through rates go through the roof. I mean, literally going from 11% open rates up to 60% open rates just by following this methodology. It works. And this is us emailing every single week. It works wonders. It really is a fabulous path. At the same time, 20% of your emails should remind your donors, hey, these are the problems that our organization is overcoming. These are the problems. And when I say our organization, I'm talking about the problems that you solve on behalf of your beneficiaries, stakeholders, or cause. This is why you exist. So 20% should be reminding them why you exist, but also calling them to action. This is your hey, we're having a campaign, give today, right? But in the non-campaign season, the 80% of the time, remind them the good work that they are doing, that your donors, they're the hero of their own story. Remind them of what they are doing, the good that they're doing via your nonprofit. That's where things get really exciting, because when they can see themselves as an agent of impact, an agent of change, and they see your organization as a means to be that, it's a complete game changer. And I promise you, it is a complete game changer. And it's a principle you should absolutely follow. Now, when it comes to calls to action, and it might sound a little bit redundant here in just a moment, but it's still surprises me how often I go to a nonprofit website and it's not obvious how I give to that nonprofit. You want to make it really, really easy for anyone to go to your website and give you money. That's why I'm thrilled to do this webinar with Rebecca and Trellis, because they do a great job of making it really easy. Their nonprofit tech company does a great job making it easy for you to make this transaction seamless, right? Donors love using platforms like this because it encourages them to give more. There's no friction. It's fantastic. But your website should be littered with give today buttons. You should almost feel uncomfortable how many times the phrase give today or whatever your call to action is on your website. Now, the next thing is this transitional call to action. And I've talked so much about email. I really want to emphasize this transitional call to action, because this is how you get email addresses for your organization on your website. Think of it like your impact report, your annual report. You've got a video series, a quiz, something. So you are giving someone a lead generating asset, is what we call them, in exchange for their email address. The number one rule in marketing is to grow your email list. You've got to make it really easy for donors to give you their email, I should say potential donors, to give you their email in exchange for this asset, the PDF report, the impact report, something like that. And when we talk about why this is so important, is what we really want to talk about one metric in particular, and it's called donor lifetime value. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in a moment, but the secret ingredient to lasting donor relationships is consistency. We want to consistently nurture this relationship, to treat people with empathy, to be kind, but also inspiring, unifying, and galvanizing in all of our storytelling. But there is a financial incentive for nonprofits to do this, and it's this donor lifetime value metric. And it's just one, it's a very straightforward metric, but it's how much money do your donors give you and how long do they stick around? How much money do they give you and how long do they stick around? So you should have an averaged donor lifetime value. So I'll make this up. Your average donor gives $500 a year and they stick around for 3 years. That means your donor lifetime value is $1,500. It's so important to be focusing on this metric because you want to increase that number as much as you can. You can either increase the donor lifetime value metric or attract a lot more donors. Now, we definitely want to focus on both, but when you extend the amount of time that a donor stays loyal to the cause, it does wonderful things for your ability to grow and scale. And too often nonprofits aren't focusing on donor retention, and they're just wondering, like, why are we having such a hard time raising money? It's because we've got to extend the amount of time that our donors stay loyal to the cause. It should be decades. It should be around for many, many years. And that's what's so exciting. It's so exciting when we do this right and do it in a way that is really effective. And so, like Rebecca said earlier, we created fundraisingquiz.org just for you to do a simple, straightforward assessment. You can scan the QR code or just go to fundraisingquiz.org and you're going to take a 2-minute quiz. It's going to give you immediate insights, but more importantly, it's going to give you advice on how to improve each one of these metrics, how to improve your fundraising, how to improve your nonprofit technology. And Rebecca, I'm thrilled that we can pass it on to you here with everything with Trellis. Are you ready to take over? You are still muted, Rebecca. I don't know if you're aware of that.
There we go. Now I'm
Perfect.
back. You'd think, doing Zoom calls for this long, we'd know how to unmute in time, but apparently not there. We are halfway through. How's everybody doing? Again, we are, like John Mark said, we are going to be ending our session with Q&A. So if you do have questions that just came up, as John Mark was sharing a lot there about storytelling, this is your chance to throw them in the Q&A box now. And as I'm speaking to, if things come up, throw them in there. We will definitely make sure we get to as many questions as possible when we end our session here. So now we've just talked all about the importance of storytelling. And so we're going to spend the rest of our time talking about how you can raise more right away, identify the donors that you should be spending more time on, and then nurture them into lifelong donors. But first, let's talk about this idea of a strategic donation upsell. Now, you've all seen these hundreds of times before. When you go to grab some fast food, it's the, do you want to upgrade your meal to a combo? Or when you're buying an airplane ticket, it's the ask to be upgraded to a premium seat. In other industries, this is so common and expected, but for some reason, we're not seeing a lot of it in the charity space. So this is your invitation now to take this easy ask and implement it into your charities too. In fact, I'm about to share with you some data about how much more you can raise when you do that. But before we get there, here's what I wanted you to make sure you know about strategic donation upsells, or in our case, strategic upsells for your organization. First, it's a really easy way to raise more immediately for your organization and raise more money for your cause. But not only that, the main reason that airlines ask you to update your seats or upgrade your seats isn't just about making money. It's also about data. Once they know that you're likely to participate in an upgrade, they're going to change how they talk to you and what they send you. Now, this should be the exact same for your donors too. Not only can you upsell to raise more right away, but you can use this strategy to identify your new high potential donors for your cause. And with this information, you can easily convert these individuals into longtime supporters for your organization. And like I said, we did a study with over 1,000 fundraisers and found that on average, the organizations that added a donation upsell raised on average 20% more for their organization. And this looked very different depending on what kind of fundraiser they were running, but overall, 20% more. Think about that. That is a significant amount of money for your organization. You don't need me to tell you that regardless of what I share next, you know you need to implement these strategies into your organization because 20% more is enough to make a pretty big change. But what gets me excited is the tactics that you need to implement this strategy are incredibly quick. With fundraising platforms that have incorporated raising more into their tools, it's simply turning on a single button or a toggle. Like that's literally all you have to do. But let's quickly break down and walk through how we can go from a one-time donation that's been made into turning those individuals into a long-time supporter for your cause. First, let's say that you've got a supporter who is purchasing an event ticket and also chose to make a $250 donation. Or hey, let's even say it was a $10 donation. With that, your purchaser has just shown intent and interest in supporting your cause in a bigger way. From here, you'll want to prioritize reaching out to these donors and engaging with them. And while we strongly recommend reaching out to all of the individuals that supported your cause, you're going to want to pay extra attention to these individuals who also gave that additional donation. If they weren't already recurring donors, they have high potential in becoming so. And this is where what John Mark mentioned about transitional calls to action come into place. What are some really exciting updates or progress reports that you can share with these individuals to keep them interested in what you're doing and ultimately inspire them to become part of something bigger? Again, this is your opportunity to practice consistent and relevant updates through multiple channels on a regular basis to prompt them to becoming recurring donors for your organization. As you can see, adding a donation upsell is a really easy way to engage your donors in different ways. And in just a moment, we're going to talk about how to actually do this for your organization. But before we do so, let's take a look at an organization that did. Now, Lake City Foundation wanted to make sure that their donors were focused on the why behind their raffle, rather than just an opportunity to win some cool prizes. On their fundraising page, they asked donors to make an additional donation, and they brought in an extra 20% for their cause. And then when they went to go run this fundraiser again this past year, they started by reaching out to those individuals who purchased a ticket and made a donation first. Again, it was a really easy way to continue to engage them and get them excited about what they had going on and choose to support their organization in a new way. And this allowed them to continue nurturing that new potential donor base. So for your organization, this can be a really easy addition. It can really be as simple as doing that, of reaching out to these individuals first, giving them exclusive access, giving them updates about your organization, and giving them enough information that they feel like they're part of something bigger. And that's really those kind of steps that you need to be taking or looking at taking in order to get them to be a long-term supporter for your organization. Now, you're probably sitting there saying, wow, that sounds really great for Lake City, but how about me? What do I do and how can I get started? So I'm going to break down kind of like your first 3 steps in taking this. And as I'm doing so, I'd really encourage you to write down some notes or take some screenshots so that you can make sure you can implement this to your organization right away. But first, we're going to start by looking at all your fundraisers. What are you currently doing? And with each fundraiser, how and where are you asking for simply a donation? Not a tax receivable portion to a ticket or a donated item that people can purchase or bid on, but a true donation. Next, now that we've completed a bit of an audit of all of your fundraisers and we know where you're asking for donations, think about how people are expected to donate. What are the steps that you're requiring them to take? And I'd recommend starting with some questions like, how many buttons do I have to get people to press in order to make a donation? Or are they buying tickets and then being asked to go back to my website to make a donation or to another location to go and make a donation? And 3, and finally, think about how you can bring it all into one place. As John Mark mentioned, nonprofits often make it really hard for people to donate, but we want to make it as easy as possible so they actually have no reason to abandon their donation or forget to give to your organization. So you're going to want to start and focus on direct call to actions. These are going to be easy and visible for your donors to see, and they're going to be right on your fundraising pages or your website pages. And preferably, they're going to really align with how people can participate and engage with your cause. Again, the goal here is to make it as easy as possible for people to participate. And then going back to the strategic donation upsells, you're going to want to incorporate donation pushes at the right time for your donors. And here are some of my favorite ways to do that. In your auction, try prompting your donors to make a donation in the chance that they aren't the winning bidder. So this simple ask says, hey, if you don't win, do you want to convert your entire bid into a donation or just a portion of it? Or when buying a raffle ticket, make the next question that the purchasers are asked, would you like to make an additional donation? It's a simple way to ask your donors to already make a donation when they're through the checkout. So we know they're purchasing. It's a really easy addition we can ask them. Or we can try bundling all the different ways that they can support your cause and giving a notable donation as well to increase the average purchase amount per donor, but also increase the amount of donations for your organization. Now, before you start wondering how you will possibly be able to manage doing all these extra things when you already are working to your max capacity, let's take a look at those ideas again that I just shared. First, it's a donation prompt to an existing, where is it? There it is. It's a donation prompt to an existing silent auction item. Or it's adding that additional bundle to your individual purchases and packaging it in a different way. It's not adding anything new, it's just repackaging. Or it's adding that donation ask to your existing raffle. All 3 of these ideas don't require you to build a new elaborate fundraiser. It's simply taking advantage of a strategic donation upsell that we've been talking about. The other element to this, which I love, is adding in the impact like we already talked about. It's going back to your previous individuals and donors and talking to them about the why, connecting your donors back to the constituents who find value in your programs and your services. For me, knowing that my $200 donation allows one youth to participate in an after-school program for a month encourages me to donate, much more than just being asked to give $200. And as a donor, I want to feel a sense of ownership and connection to the organization. And when I know the why behind what the organization is doing and I hear a personal story, I'm so much more connected to what that organization is doing and so much more willing to give in a different way. So now that we've talked about how you can add donation upsells to raise 20% more for your organization, and that's all great, but remember how I was saying that airlines are doing this same strategy, but using the data to learn more about your habits, learn more about what you're doing with your spending, and figure out how they can make sure to ask you for more opportunities to give in the future. And now I don't want you to forget the second half of that. I want you to really think about how you can use this insight and this data that we're collecting about the individuals choosing to make a donation. And we can turn this into an opportunity for you to identify these new donors who have high potential to be big players for your organization. With this information, you can focus on what the nurture portion of what John Mark just shared. Similar to setting up a donation upsell, this should be something that's really easy to do through your technology. And as you're looking at fundraising platforms, I would look for platforms that integrate with different CRMs that you're using, but also go above and beyond and give you scores and insights into your donors that have actually chosen to give the most. Now, we do have to wrap up here, and so I am going to quickly pass it back to John Mark to just kind of highlight some of the main things that he talked about. If you want to come back on here now. You are still.
Absolutely. I was just going through these wonderful questions. The Q&A is blowing up right now, so I apologize. You guys are asking awesome questions here. So obviously we talked about a handful of things here, but the whole point is to really leverage best-in-class marketing, best-in-class technology with Trellis in order to raise more money and to do it quickly and seamlessly. So we talked about how to craft stories that inspire and retain your most valuable donors. And notice, inspire, retain, most valuable donors. Not all donors are created equal, and I don't mean that in a rude way. Not all donors are created equal with regard to funding and growing your organization. And so there are certain donors, there are certain niches that you have inside of your donor base that are going to allow you to grow more quickly and more effectively. So you want to craft stories that are really curated for them. At the same time, we should talk about what does nurturing these relationships even look like? How do we call them to action? How do we grow our email list that you'll hear me say for the rest of my life? How do you grow your list in order to attract those ideal donors? And then really, someone asked, what was the secret ingredient to lasting donor relationships? Consistency. Nothing beats it. You cannot beat consistency. Now, if you combine consistency with the 80-20 that I was referencing earlier of telling inspiring stories and calling donors to action and helping cast a vision of success, you'll win. You want to consistently do the right things, but if you're consistent, constantly reminding your donors how valuable they are to you, how valuable they are to the cause that you've dedicated your life to serving, no one's getting donor fatigue. Like no one unsubscribes from an email list of someone constantly telling you how great you are. I promise it doesn't work. Like people just don't do that. So remember, be bold, be just completely transparent about how grateful you are for the work that your donors are allowing you to do. Some of them might drive you crazy. You might love some of them. You might not want to talk to them again, but at the end of the day, your donors are what fund the cause. And so I really just want to emphasize those points, but Rebecca, you had some wonderful points here as well. Maybe you want to go over.
Yeah, and then after all of that, we talked about how you can raise more through donation upselling as a great strategy to easily identify new donors to connect with your organization, and then also find new ways to nurture them to become long-time donors. And the key to success here was really all about finding a technology partner that can help you achieve these goals. And while we didn't have enough time to really dig into that, I'd really encourage you to take a look at different tools that are going to allow you to hit your goals and raise more for your organization. Trellis is actually the only fundraising platform in Canada to offer different strategic donation upsell strategies for raffles, auctions, and ticketing to help you raise more and engage more through our all-in-one fundraising platform. And we're also the only platform that's allowing you to connect and integrate with your CRMs to easily identify your new highest potential supporters. And while there are tons and tons of platforms out there, we might be a little bit biased. And we would just encourage you to check out Trellis and just see if that might be a fit for your organization and your fundraising moving forward here.
Absolutely. Go to trellis.org to check. I mean, it really is a fantastic platform. I know I'm not associated with Trellis, but I'm definitely fanboy for Trellis over here. So they've done a great job building a stellar product. And so there's just a lot to, but we've got a lot of questions here, Rebecca. We got a lot to go through. So let's see. I've been reading through them while you were talking. We had a couple that popped up. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping ahead. You got the,
that's
the next
okay.
3 steps.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
We are all about making sure that you walk away with some easy next steps. I know that was a bit of a fire hose of information. So here's where we would recommend you get started as you think about what happens next and where we go from here. Again, regardless of what kind of organization you work for and your role within the organization too, you can definitely try these. One, put on your potential donor hat and review your website, your emails, your social media platforms. Without knowing anything about the cause, discover if you think it's compelling for you to give. Do you understand what the cause is all about? Do you understand the story, and are you encouraged? And then I would take a look at your fundraising pages, your website again, and look at how easy it is to give to the organization. Are you encouraging your donors to give in different ways? Do you have upsells? Do you have different strategies that are going to entice them to keep participating? And then finally, take the quiz. We'll throw it up on the next screen here too, so you can take a look at it. And just a reminder, the goal of the quiz is not to ace this thing, and it's not to get all the right answers. Instead, it's an opportunity to just be really critical of your current strategy. Think about what you need to do to increase the amount of funds being raised. And once you've completed the quiz, you'll be provided with some next steps that match your current challenges, and some next steps in terms of helping you figure out how to become a fundraising superhero that we know you are so capable of becoming. And with that, now let's move over to some questions.
Absolutely. Sorry, I jumped the gun on that one there, Rebecca. So
You're all good.
we've got, let's see, 19 unanswered questions. I know we answered quite a few while you were going through. So let's see, I'll just take a first couple and then let's see. I'll ask you some Trellis questions first. And then if you don't mind going the other way. Let's see. Brenda asked, thanks for the talk. Can Trellis assist not-for-profits in Africa?
Unfortunately not. At this time, we are only supporting organizations that are based in Canada or in the States, or organizations that do have a US or a Canadian-based bank account. So that works for you in America. And if you've got your dollars coming through the States or Canada, then absolutely. But unfortunately, not yet. Hopefully soon, though. We're working on it.
Someone just asked about, it was an anonymous attendee, if it worked in the States. So that definitely answers that question right there.
Yeah.
Another question for you, Rebecca, is how can I add donation upsells into my next fundraiser? So someone has an upcoming event, upcoming fundraiser. How do you recommend adding Trellis to that?
Absolutely. So first thing I would do is take a look at what you're doing for your fundraiser, and then identify, we're doing ticket sales, and that's kind of the element we want to start with donation upsells, or with our auction, and we want to add that piece in. Like I said, right now, Trellis is actually the only platform for auctions and raffles and tickets that are doing donation upsells. So definitely connect with me, and happy to take a look at what you've got planned and see if we can help you bring that over to Trellis and hopefully get some donation upsells in there. But like I said, on average, we're seeing 20% more is how much charities are raising. And that's over 1,000 fundraisers. Like, that's not one or two. Like, that is a significant amount of people that have seen a big impact. So definitely, I'd love to see how we can help you with that as well.
And to your point, someone asked if the raffles were worth the cost, right? And so I get it. I mean, everything has an expense associated with it. But when you don't have the ability to capture new donors, and that's what Trellis has done, super intelligent that they've done. They've made it possible for you to do that upsell, get these opt-ins when people sign up for the raffle, and you get the case study with Burn Fund, 1,000 new donors, not just 1,000 new emails, 1,000 new emails of people that gave money to you. And so it makes a huge difference, like to that point. I would absolutely do whatever I could to get 1,000 new donors in a seamless way that Trellis has done that. So I've got another one for you. This one's a good one. Let's see. Are there any fundraising tools I can use to help with donation upsells in my fundraiser?
In your company, is that what you said?
No, it's for a nonprofit, in my next fundraiser.
Oh, in your next fundraiser. Yeah, like I said, I mean, at this point, Trellis is kind of one of the only platforms doing it. So I'm definitely happy to chat with you about what that looks like, and how you could do some donation upsells. And if that's not a fit too, I mean, definitely talk to the platforms you're using and see what options they do have as well. And see if there's a fit with some of the tools you're currently using. But like I said, at this point, we think are kind of the only ones doing that.
Yes.
But John Mark, maybe I'll pass some questions back your way.
Sure thing. Go for it.
How do I best leverage an organization's social media platforms for fundraising?
Yeah, so this is what's fun. So think about this a couple different ways. Social media absolutely has its place, right? It's really, really important. Social's great. So what we want to do is use social to generate interest, but we want to convert to owned media. So we use the term, it's not original to us, but rented versus owned media. Think of social media as, staying at a hotel. You rent a room at a hotel, that kind of an idea. But you go to your home, like you go back home, you own that. And so social platforms are great for, let's generate interest out there, make a splash. But there are lots of splashes that don't go anywhere, right? There's a lot of splash, and that's what the problem with social is, when you're not converting to own. So you want to use it to generate interest for an upcoming event, but you need to have these opt-ins, whether you use Trellis, whether you use a lead generated PDF, whether you have some kind of opt-in that gives you an email address or a phone number, but email really is more effective at this point. That's how you want to be thinking, like, okay, how can I take all of these marketing efforts and convert it into something meaningful? New emails for your nonprofit is something meaningful. And that's what I love about the Burn Fund example is, here you've got a fundraising event plus 1,000, lots of emails included in there, plus 1,000 people that donated on top of it. So it really does work well.
Totally. Another really good question that came in here is, you mentioned storytelling and donor appreciation is a key to emailing weekly.
Right.
How do you ensure emails do not become dry and expected?
Yeah, that's a great point. One thing you do want to consider is people do want dependability, right? So if you consistently email Thursdays at 10 a.m., great. And so one of my favorite newsletters, not a nonprofit newsletter, not a business newsletter, James Clear from Atomic Habits, that book, he sends an email every single Thursday. I'm never going to unsubscribe from James Clear's email. It's value packed. I look forward to it. It's fantastic. Imagine that your donors actually look at you the same way. Like, they've given you the stamp of approval. They've given you money, and they're going to continue giving you money as long as we're consistent. And so if there's concern about that, one of the problems that we see is most organizations downplay the good that they're doing, and they don't think it's worth sharing. What you might be surprised is the good that you're doing is absolutely meaningful to your nonprofits, to your donors, excuse me. They want to know the good. They actually want to know, like, what's going, like, the bad. They want to know, like, hey, we're going through these issues right now. But this stuff's going on. Like, we have lots of clients that are in the Caribbean, and there's a lot of turmoil going on in Haiti. Donors want to know what's going on. They don't want sugar-coated everything. They want reality. But they also know that you are dedicated to the cause, that you're in this, you've got skin in the game. You want to be real, vulnerable, transparent, all of that. But also, you're here to do great work. That's the great thing. Remind them of the great work that you're doing.
I love it. I've got one more here for you right now. We are organizing a free event. How can we encourage and attract and encourage people to visit that event too? And how do I use that as an opportunity to create long-term donors or share my stories and do all of those pieces as well?
That's a great point. Really, really good point. So lots of different questions here when it comes to, or lots of different opportunities here, I should say it that way. I would start with, a series of questions, but we don't have the time for it. Depending on the type of event and depending on who you're trying to attract, right? Who do you want to show up? I think this is a question that most people don't ask. Who do I want to be there, right? It's the kind of thing. I'm from Texas, and am I trying to get 55 orthopedic surgeons in Dallas, Fort Worth, right? Is that who I'm trying to attract, or am I just trying to get anybody with a pulse? I strongly recommend you try to be very, very specific with whom you want to attract to these events. And then you have to ask yourself, what do I need to do? What do I need to provide in order to attract those people, right? That's why fundraising galas, have these wonderful speakers that come in. They have all of this, live music. Like, there are things that attract us to this thing. They want to hear a speaker. They want to, insert whatever. They want to do that. And that's what brings the interest. It's really hard. You're competing for people's attention. And this is why marketing is so important and why doing it right. You're competing with Netflix. You're competing with Disney Plus. You're competing with convenience. You're competing with a dinner out on the town, right? You have to have a compelling reason as to why should somebody give you their most precious resource, their time, and then their second most precious resource, their money, to come to your nonprofit's event. And so if you give them good reasons to do that, and if you deliver on it effectively, you can have fabulous returns on your events. And so just put yourself in their shoes, ask yourself, would you go to this event that you're trying to propose? And if the answer is no, we got to do some work. Right? We need to think about, what are we trying to do here? That's a great question, Rebecca.
Mhm.
Let's see. I am seeing you're just keeping coming through. Fantastic. So let's ask this question. Oh, I love this one. How does the act of making an additional donation help me identify new potential long-term donors for my cause? That's an insightful question there.
Yeah, absolutely. The benefit of asking for a donation ask and seeing how you can convert that into a long-term donor is you're identifying the individuals that have shown some interest in your organization. So they had the opportunity to just buy a ticket and move on, but they chose not to. They chose to stop and also make an additional donation and support your cause in a bigger way. And so those individuals, and going back to that burn fund example that we shared at the very beginning here too, those additional 1,000 donors that chose to also make a donation on top of a raffle ticket purchase, they said, hey, I want to get a bit more involved, or I want to support in a bigger way. And that's kind of a first really good key sign that they're intrigued, they're interested, and they're engaged with your organization. And then from that list, you would take those 1,000 donors and you would say, hey, how many of these people have never given to my organization before? How many of them are brand new to my organization, or how many of them have participated in the past, but kind of always done, I don't know, there's no good way to say this, but like the bare minimum almost. And now we can see they're starting to move to doing more. And that's why we're going to want to really engage those individuals, really nurture them, and see how we can continue to encourage them to keep giving and becoming long-term donors or lifetime donors for the organization. But using that kind of key insight of, hey, they chose to give additionally above and beyond is a really good first indicator that they've got the potential to be a big supporter for your organization moving forward.
Oh, it's an excellent point. And it's just amazing. So many people are concerned, like, oh, cool, I've got these emails, but no one's ever given before. Listen, it is very, very possible to breathe life into a relationship and people turn into fabulous long-term donors. They just need to be nurtured. That's what this is. You think about it, just any friendship, any relationship. At first, there was no relationship, and then there was, right? So there was work that went into it. And the beautiful thing is we can do this via email. We can do this, through digital means. You can also call people. You can meet them in person. There's a million ways that we can go about this. But it's so common. It's the concern of, well, I don't know them. This is going to be uncomfortable. I don't want to, just always be asking people for money. You're not. You're trying to connect people with their generosity, right? You've got these generous human beings that are out there that they want to connect their generosity with a cause they believe in. And that's the beautiful thing that you guys solidify, that you embody. You are the cause, right? You are sort of the stakeholder of that cause. You're like, I'm trying to do X. This is how I'm going to do it. Here's the problem. Here's the plan. This is the vision of the future. I need to partner with you in order to make that a reality. And donors love that. Investors love that. I mean, that's sort of put that investor mindset on. This is what people want. They want to have a cause that they can support, that they believe in. And it's on you to tell the story so that they can believe in it.
Totally. I love it. We have 2 more minutes here before Mercedes is going to come back and let us know that we need to jump off. But I'm hoping we can just do 2 more rapid fire questions here. First one for you, John Mark, is once you design your donor profile, how do you find them and break the ice?
Oh, how do you find them and break the ice? All right, so this is fun. I think there's a lot of myths around this. People think, oh, I've got to be super bubbly and extroverted for this to work. No, you really don't. Introverts do wonderfully in these dynamics. Because again, put yourself in their shoes. Remind yourself, this is a generous person that wants to support. You just have to tell yourself that. Whether or not they're generous, they probably are, but if they're not, they want to do something good, or they want to be associated with something good. And that's what you are. And so if I wanted to do this, if I was building a list of people, I would, 1, try and schedule a meeting with them in person. That's the number 1 ideal. But number 2, if I'm doing everything online, there's a million ways we could do this with Facebook ads, where we can actually attract these specific demographics get their emails via that lead generating PDF, that transitional call to action that we've been talking about, so that we can nurture a real relationship. You can also do content marketing. Like, this is where social does have a really great really high lever for you guys. It's, how do I get in front of these people? And again, you can get in front of anyone. Just believe me on that. If you want to target, like I said, surgeons in Chicago, go for it. I mean, that is a very attainable thing. If you want to, left-leaning women that are in their mid-40s that are passionate about the environment, that's a very doable thing. There are groups of people that exist to support that demographic. And so just always remind yourself that this is an achievable, attainable thing. And then there are tactics that you can just utilize. But the problem that we mostly see is people don't have this ideal donor profile set. Start there, build the ideal donor profile, and then you can go find ways to pursue them. And there are a million ways to do it. You don't want to be overwhelmed with the million ways to do it.
Totally. I love it. I'm going to quickly jump in here before Mercedes comes back. There's one last question that I'm just going to quickly answer from Ali, just around donations. Can you choose to not accept anonymous donations? How much donor information is provided through Trellis to the nonprofit? Yeah, I would definitely encourage you, make sure on the platforms that you're using, if that's Trellis or otherwise, that you can access all of your donor information, all of their details. If you've asked them custom questions, things like that, you do want to be able to see all of that. I know at Trellis in particular, we can have the option for you to make it private or anonymous on the front end. So other donors don't see who's giving and they can choose to be anonymous on that end. But on the back end, you can always access all of that information, because we just know that information is so important for your organization to keep growing, and you need to see those details. And so you can kind of do a little bit of both and give people the anonymity. I think I said that wrong, but let's go with it.
It's all right. It's all right.
So, you know what, we're moving on. But you can still give your donors that option, but you can still hold that information for yourself.
Absolutely.
And with that, we'll pass it back to you, Mercedes.
Thank you very much, Rebecca and John Mark, for such a great presentation. As we are closing in on the hour mark, do you happen to have any final comments before we sign off today?
Rebecca, do you want to go first? No. You go first, please.
I would just say, I mean, first of all, thanks so much for joining us. I know that was a ton of information. Both John Mark and I were so excited and passionate about what we get to do and how we get to support organizations just like yours every single day. So as you continue to think through these things, I'd highly, highly encourage you to reach out to both of us. If you've got any additional questions, both of our emails are on the screen right now, so take a quick screenshot. We would love to help and see how we can help your organizations raise more, because this is a really crazy time to be in the charity space, and we know how challenging it can be, but we've got lots of tools and tips and tricks that we'd love to share and help you raise more.
Absolutely. And just to second that, I mean, the reason why Rebecca and I enjoy partnering together is because we're here to serve. And that's why we're on the call. That's what we're here to do. Yes, we work for organizations that do this for a living, but that's the whole cause, right? That's the whole thing behind it. The fundraising quiz is super straightforward. There's immediate and free ways to contact each one of us directly from the quiz. Like she said, if you just want to email directly, do whatever you want to do. I know that we got 25 other questions. We have 25 other questions that we didn't answer. Please just send us these questions. We'd be happy to follow up, hop on a Zoom and dive in. So thank you so much for your time. Again, your most valuable resource. This means a lot to us. So thank you for giving that. We really appreciate it. We take it very seriously.
Thank you both. I would like to remind everyone that you will receive a follow-up email tomorrow with a link to the webinar recording and the resources mentioned during the session. Please feel free to share this link with your colleagues. The email will also include a survey link, which you can fill out with your feedback on today's webinar. You should see a survey link pop up right here in Zoom as well following the session. On behalf of Charity Village, thank you so much for joining us today, and I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day.